How's it going, everybody? It's the General Little Fox here. It's my channel where I talk about anime, video games, cartoons, and today I'm here to talk about Batman Cape Crusader. So this video is going to be my initial thoughts on what do I think about Batman Cape Crusader. I guess some people wanted to talk to me, wanted me to talk about it. So I decided, you know what, I might as well make a full video since I watched the show, and I do have some opinions on it that I kind of want to put it out there. So yeah, so let's get started. So, the new Batman show isn't half bad in my opinion, but it's probably the worst and the most unappealing Batman show to date as well. One of the major turnoffs being the race swaps, or the gender swaps as well, of like Commissioner Gordon, Barbara Gordon, Officer Flask, Harley Quinn, Penguin, etc. This alone kind of made a lot of fans kind of jaded before the episode 1, and rightfully so. So, especially since it's like set in the 1940s, and this is supposed to be like one of Bruce Timm's like adult grungy takes on Batman, the animated series. Even though a lot of people have been calling out his contributions to the DCAU since Paul Dini had wrote a lot of those episodes and co-created characters Bruce Timm is known for. Anyways, being set in the 1940s where Jim Crow would be in place and misogyny and homophobia would be at all-time high, doesn't make sense why some of these characters are in the positions of power, like being a police captain or a therapist. But factoring in suspension of disbelief, I don't have much of an attachment to any of these characters who get more like focused than Batman himself. Renee Montoya is a Hispanic lesbian cop in the Batman mythos, who's also become the second question, but she doesn't fit here unless it's like in a more modern setting, in my opinion. Barbara Gordon is a black lawyer now, even though she was neither in the comics, according to my knowledge. And for some reason, she's an adult woman in Batman's first year, like Gordon being a commissioner instead of like a lieutenant. So I wanted to take a wild guess that Bruce Timm is going to kind of pull the trigger on that cursed relationship between Batman and Batgirl, since it's kind of his fetish, and he has like no leash this time. Remember, this is supposed to be Bruce Timm unhinged, so we all know he's probably going to go for it. My other guess is that clown J.J. Abrams made some mandates to kind of race swap her and the others at least, so if you get this, then at least we get to do this. So yeah, I can kind of tell. Now Harley Quinn. Harley is some sort of anti-hero using her psychology skills to kind of manipulate the rich into bankruptcy for the sake of charity. But again, I don't think Harley would work either in this setting, and that she's just not really even a good therapist at that, just by how easily she's been manipulated by the Joker in the past, so it just doesn't make sense in my opinion to use her as a more psychological type character. I think a better villain to use would have been and especially a classic one at that, who's been around since the 1940s, would have been Hugo Strange, or Dr. Hugo Strange, or Doctor Strange, the original Doctor Strange before Marvel's Doctor Strange. But anyways, yeah, but Dr. Hugo Strange, I think he would have been a much more better choice. He's always been more of a mental threat for like Batman, even deducing that Batman is Bruce Wayne, much like Ra's al Ghul or Bane and stuff. Those are like the type of guys that had found out about Bruce Wayne being Batman, But Batman the Animated Series didn't really do him any favors, but the Batman from the 2004 series, he was definitely a major threat, like a major threat. Like he was like kind of like one of the last kind of villains that Batman had to face in that series, actually. But anyways, hell, like remember that one time where he like literally tricked Batman and Robin into believing that the entire city had became like infested with zombies and all that stuff, and he almost like got Batman to like almost destroy the city and stuff. That was crazy. But anyways, second to that, Strange could have been it could have been either Strange, or I think they could have used the Scarecrow, who's also been a 40s Batman villain. Scarecrow's design in the new Batman, not the new Batman animated series, Batman the New Adventures, or the new Batman Adventures, was kind of cool. His actor from the Dark Knight trilogy was severely underrated. Harvey Dent in the show is kind of underutilized, and he's kind of killed off a few episodes after becoming Two-Face, but his dual personality disorder isn't really covered that very well, and the wrong half of his face is kind of disfigured. Not to mention, he kind of acts more like a renegade vigilante than an actual criminal or a gangster. And Batman as a character, it wasn't likable, or I just couldn't really root for him, Like one side of him, he kind of puts out this like fake act about being an eccentric billionaire to kind of avoid suspicion about being Batman, which I'm not saying that's out of character. I'm just saying that's just one side of his personality. And then the other side is just him being just a complete dick to everybody around him, especially Alfred. Like, Jesus Christ. So, I'm serious. Like, he just only refers to Alfred as Pennyworth. I'm like, Jesus. Like, no Alfred, no Al. You know, this is kind of the guy that raised you. So he kind of comes off as, to me, ungrateful and disrespectful. So I don't really like it. And he's like an older version of like Damian Wayne, basically, because Damian also calls Alfred Pennyworth. You know, he'd be like Pennyworth. But that makes sense because Damian wasn't raised around Alfred or anything, and he was raised by like, or you know, Batman for that matter. He was raised by, by Ra's al Ghul and Talia, his grandpa and his mom. So yeah. But the only times I kind of so it makes sense why he's spoiled. But for Batman, that doesn't make any sense. But the only times I kind of felt like he was like heroic was like when he's saving children, or that he's like visibly angry about like Harvey's death, and besides like and decides to like want to like course correct his behavior, where he finally refers to Alfred as just Alfred. But anyways, or when he starts to open up and trust people like Barbara Gordon and so on and so forth. So there is some character development though, at least. But he just takes advantage of Alfred, saying, "What the hell were you thinking? I can't do this job without you." Like, damn, bro, you're not gonna be like, "Hey, Alfred, man, you're good, man." Like, you know what I mean? Like, because it's kind of like he puts the mission before Alfred's own well-being. So I just wasn't really a fan of that, you know. Or manipulating Harvey, his best friend, by the way, who was in a fragile state after a whole incident and stuff. You know, like he takes him out, wines and dines him and stuff, and eventually tries to get him to spill his guts about Rupert Thorne and all that stuff, basically. And I just felt like, damn, that's some fake ass shit, man. So I just I just can't get with it. You know, I just don't like it. So I just didn't like and I also didn't like either how they made Detective Bullock and Jim Corrigan into dirty cops. So in case you know who Jim Corrigan is, Jim Corrigan is actually the Spectre from the Justice Society and stuff. You know, the Vengeance of God, the man with the green hood and all that stuff. Yeah, Jim Corrigan, he was a cop that was killed in the line of duty, and he was kind of brought back, or he became like the avatar or something of like the Spectre, basically. But yeah, but I think there's another version of Jim Corrigan, or a different type of Jim, like a guy goes by the name Jim Corrigan who is a dirty cop. So maybe it's probably a reference to that, but I'm not really sure. But regardless, though, I'm not really a fan of. This is supposed to be the Spectre Jim Corrigan and stuff. I don't like that. Not at all. And then Detective Bullock, that doesn't make sense why Bullock is also dirty too, because like you know Bullock, he was kind of like cool with Batman and Commissioner Gordon and stuff. You know, like even though yeah Bullock may be a little overweight, he may be a little bit of a mess, so whatever. He was still a good person, though. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't a dirty cop. Like he was like one of the like type of people that yeah, of course, Commissioner Gordon and Batman can like literally trust with their lives. So it doesn't make sense why you know in this series he's just dirty. You know, but that's just me. And then, of course, but yeah, so those are the things I just didn't like. But some of the things that I did like, though, I liked the handle on Catwoman and stuff. I thought she was pretty good. I like Patrick O'Brien. I like Lennon Midnight. And I like the references to the Robins, especially Dick Grayson and Jason Todd. Catwoman, she was like a pretty decent villainess and stuff. She has some good motivations and charisma. And she looks sexy and accurate to the time. So, yeah, I got to appreciate that. And in case you don't know, Patrick O'Brien, or Eel O'Brien, he's actually known as the superhero Plastic Man from the comics. So that's why I was also like, is that Plastic Man? So that was pretty cool, you know, that they had Plastic Man in the show. I'm just wondering why he's a photographer instead of a criminal. So I'm just like, all right, well, whatever. And this is also my first time of hearing of Linton Midnight, who is actually an original Jamaican character from the DC comics and stuff. He's actually a villain of John Constantine, so that would explain the mystical shenanigans and all that stuff. So I was like, all right, makes sense, I guess. But he was actually pretty interesting, though. I'm not gonna lie to you there. I will at least accept his presence in the show. But those are just my initial thoughts about about the show. It's watchable, but I just feel like it's kind of just wasted potential, honestly. I know Bruce Timm, J.J. Abrams, and Matt Reeves worked on the show, and you can kind of tell there's a little bit passion, in my opinion. I think it's from Bruce Timm's side, but then it's also eclipsed by Abrams and then Matt Reeves' vision for what I see. Like you have one guy who's known as the franchise killer, J.J. Abrams, and then you got another guy that made like one of the worst Batman movies to date, Matt Reeves. So, yeah, that's pretty much my opinion, though. Now, before I end this video, I'm actually going to talk about characters that I think honestly deserved a show, and they could have probably used this, honestly, versus just make another Batman show, in my opinion. But let me do that real quick. Now, these are my 10 characters that I think deserved a show, compared to just having another Batman show or whatever that was like, 12 episodes long or whatever, but I think this could have worked a lot more better. So I have 10 characters I'm going to use in mind. So first off on my list, I have Nightwing. Now, with as many Batman cartoons as there is, we need at least a Nightwing series, okay? Batman's cool and all, but his sidekicks to me are a lot more interesting, especially Nightwing. Now, you might be thinking, what about Nightwing? He's basically just a knockoff Batman, right? He's Batman light. Wrong. Nightwing has surpassed Batman in many, many ways, okay, as a character. He deals with he deals with a much more tougher city than Gotham. You know, Bloodhaven. That shit was called Bloodhaven is like literally referred to as Gotham's ugly stepsister, basically. That's how bad Bloodhaven is. Like, the cops are the dirtiest, the criminals are the most cutthroat, like, for real. Anyways, but yeah, not to mention, like, Nightwing also has his own villains, like his own rogues and stuff, like Strike, Double Dare, Blockbuster, even Deathstroke, which they keep trying to make Deathstroke into more of a Batman villain, but he's always had more of a rivalry with Nightwing and stuff, and the Teen Titans, you know? I mean, we saw back in Teen Titans and stuff, Deathstroke and Nightwing, or, you know, Slade and Robin's whole rivalry and stuff. So yeah, it definitely would be cool to have a Nightwing show, you know? And not to mention, Nightwing's also had a lot more healthier friendships and relationships, more so than Batman. Like, his friendships with the Teen Titans and stuff, you know, they've been pretty healthy and positive. His relationship with, look, we know Batman's had relationships with, like, Catwoman and Talia al Ghul, which have pretty much became a little bit toxic, and those are his primary love interests. I know he's had other, like, you know, love interests and stuff, but if I gotta say, like, you know, the most primary we already know is Catwoman and Talia, and they, like I said, they can be a little bit toxic. But Dick Grayson, he's literally had Barbara Gordon, and he's had Starfire, you know, Princess Coriander. No, Starfire. Yeah, he had Starfire, all right? And I used to hear back in the day, like back in the 80s and stuff, like Starfire and Nightwing, they used to be like compared to, like, you know, Peter Parker and Mary Jane because of how, like, iconic they were. Like, they were like literally that kind of, yeah. So, like, that's how big they were. So I'm just saying, like, a Nightwing show, that would honestly be a lot more better than Batman. And not to mention, they really downplayed Nightwing's skills a lot because he's like the best acrobat in the DC universe, and he's a lot more faster than Batman. So I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, and they really underutilized him in a lot of the cartoons, if you ask me. But yeah, like, I really think they should really use Dick Grayson as like Nightwing and stuff, and just make a show out of him or something. But anyways, next up I have Red Hood. Now, come on, do I even have to say anything? A Red Hood show would be more hype than a My Adventures of Superman show. A Red Hood show would be more hype than a 1940s Batman show. A Red Hood show would be more hype than an Amanda Waller series. Red Hood would be more hype than a Peacemaker, a character I didn't even know anything about 3 years ago. A Red Hood series would be more hype than a Suicide Squad isekai, which a lot of people were kind of tired with the Suicide Squad stuff. It would be a lot more hype than a freaking Creature Commando, which, again, I've never heard of Creature Commando until now. So I'm just saying, like, all this stuff sounds a lot like Red Hood. A Red Hood show sounds way more better than all that stuff that's getting put out right now. I'm just saying. Hell, even in Titans, even though Titans was a pretty terrible show, I mean, Red Hood was actually, like, to me, I think Red Hood, or at least Jason Todd, even though it doesn't make sense that they, you know, I mean, what they did with the Red Hood thing, that was kind of dumb. But I gotta say, I like that actor, guy. I mean, he was a pretty good, like, as Jason Todd, as a young Jason Todd, or a Robin and stuff. Like, yeah, I would say that would be a highlight from that show, if anything. And I did enjoy Red Hood's, like, presence, okay, even though the script itself for the season was pretty bad. But yeah. But honestly, we need a Red Hood show, or a Red Hood and the Outlaws, you know? You can have Red Arrow, you can have Starfire, you can have Artemis, Bizarro, something, you know what I mean? And they just do some anti-hero shit. That would be awesome, you know? Like, I would definitely love that, you know? And not to mention, they could have actually used Red Hood, not Jason Todd, but if they wanted to, they could have used the Joker Red Hood from, like, for that Batman Cape Crusader, though, you know, all of a sudden, like, yeah, come to think of it, because that was more of a classic character from the 1950s. I know this is the 1940s, but if they're going old, then they can definitely go with that. But anyways, next up on my list, number 3, I have Flash. Now, I know Flash has already had a TV show. He had the CW, and he was on the DCEU, but that was Barry Allen, okay? We need Wally West, all right? I know CW has gotten kind of ridiculously bad over time, and the DCU, I mean, shit, that version of Flash is played by Ezra Miller, okay? We really do need Wally West back, okay? We need him back as the Flash. We saw him in the DCAU. He was an awesome character. He had some pretty good episodes. He beat Brainiac Lex Luthor. Did anyone forget that? when the Justice League couldn't. You know what I mean? Like, he used the Speed Force and was whooping Brainiac, Lex Luthor and stuff. That was like one of the best scenes in the entire series. All right. Not to mention, in the alternate universe with the Justice Lords, they were literally tripping over Flash's death when he got killed. So much so that they conquered the planet. You know, they literally took over the world and stuff just so they can avoid something like Flash dying again. You know, and they were really really soft about like that version of Flash. But anyways, yeah. Not to mention he was on fucking Teen Titans as well, the old cartoon as Kid Flash, voiced by Michael Rosenfeld, the same dude that voices him in the DCAU, and he got Jinx. So I'm just saying, like, I mean, yeah. Not to mention Kid Flash was also in Young Justice too, or Wally West was Kid Flash inside Young Justice, and people wanted him back. You know, I'm just saying all these things really like they could have. We need a fucking Flash like a Wally West show. I'm just saying. Not to mention, like, even his own Reverse Flash is a lot more dangerous than Eobard Thawne. I mean, he molly-whooped and dogged the hell out of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman all at the same time, which is crazy. So I'm just saying, yeah, we need a Wally West show. All right, next up I have Wonder Woman. Now, Wonder Woman, we already know she's one of, like, DC Trinity side by side with Batman and Superman. And honestly, she hasn't even gotten not one show besides that 1970s show, but that doesn't count. I'm talking about like a cartoon or something. Which is kind of weird because she had a successful movie back in 2017. So they should have went like the DreamWorks route, or like, you know, like Pixar or whatever, or Disney back in the day, whenever they had like a successful like movie or franchise or whatever, they would at least put out a cartoon or whatever. That would have been cool. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, yeah. And I actually did enjoy that Wonder Woman movie that came out back in 2017. You know, it was my graduation year. And I really enjoyed that. I saw it with my mom and everything. Yeah, had a good time. And hell, that movie was so fucking successful that they actually made Marvel jealous to the point that they tried to spin off multiple female characters and stuff with those movies in the MCU, like Black Widow and Captain Marvel, which Captain Marvel was a flop. And Black Widow, as much as I actually like Black Widow, I don't like the movie, but I like the character in the MCU. And I do think, you know, a Black Widow movie would have been cool, but they really squandered that idea. I'm not going to lie to you. When they actually put it out and stuff, because Taskmaster and all that other stuff, and the plot was just, and the origin was stupid, but whatever. And not to mention, they already killed off Black Widow anyway, so what was the point of giving her a movie after she had died? You know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense. But whatever. Anyways, James Gunn had kind of already greenlit like a tie-in type show called, what was it, Amazon's Paradise or whatever, about stuff taking place on Themyscira, and it's like, why didn't you just make a Wonder Woman show? Like, at that point, like, yeah, I mean, that's like kind of making a Wakanda show without Black Panther. And we had that technically with that fucking Black Panther Wakanda Forever movie, which nobody really liked like that. Or some people did, but it wasn't really a good movie, to be honest with you. Like, I'm just being honest. And you just had it without Black Panther. Yeah, we had Shuri and all that stuff, but we wanted T'Challa back, okay? But anyways, not to mention, Wonder Woman has had her own villains, like, I almost said Cheetara, like Cheetah, Giganta, Dr. Psycho, Dr. Poison, Ares, Sears, Silver Swan. Like, I mean, they can definitely do a Wonder Woman show. But anyways, next up I have Aquaman. Now, again, just like Wonder Woman, Aquaman has also had a successful movie that they didn't really capitalize on at the time. And most people think that he's kind of a joke because of, like, you know, what we saw was like, you know, or not what a joke, but most people just think he's a joke anyways, because he talks to fish or whatever. But I mean, like, we saw how much of a badass he was back inside the DCAU and stuff. Like, I love the Aquaman with the long, lengthy hair and the beard and all that stuff. Like, I love that. But yeah, he was a badass back inside the DCAU Justice League, and I actually liked him too in the DCAU, in the Justice League movies and stuff. You know, he was pretty cool. I know Jason Momoa wasn't the perfect casting for Aquaman, but still, I actually enjoyed him. I thought he was a pretty fun character and stuff, and I liked him whenever he was on screen. But I wanted to spend more time, like, you know what I mean? But they wanted to spend more time making him into a joke by trying to put out that stupid-ass Thundercats Roar cartoon-style cartoon. I don't remember what it was called. I know it wasn't Thrown to Atlantis. I know that was the Justice League movie that was animated, that was based on Aquaman or whatever, but that stupid-ass cartoon that they tried to release with the terrible animation and stuff, and it was just going to be a complete joke, that was just dumb and lazy. But anyway, some honorable mentions I have, or not honorable mentions, but I'm going to yada this as fast as I can, because this video is kind of dragging on a little bit long. But I want to say characters that I think also deserve a show from the DC side of things. I think Katana, I remember Katana when I first saw her was like in Batman Brave and the Bold. I thought she was a cool character. Then she also was like the secondary protagonist inside Beware the Batman. So I mean, there's potential, I think. And then there's Green Arrow. I know Green Arrow had Arrow and stuff for like over 10 years or so. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, we need an actual Green Arrow show because Arrow wasn't really much of like Green Arrow. It's more like pretty much just a Batman show, just that they called it Green Arrow. That's basically what it was. All right. We need a Black Lightning cartoon. I know we had a Black Lightning show and stuff, but we need a Black Lightning cartoon. I actually like Black Lightning, the show, but they canceled it after 3 seasons and stuff, and they were supposed to make a Painkiller spinoff, which I actually would have liked because I actually like Painkiller. He was a cool character in that show too, but they scrapped that, and I was like, well, that was dumb. But anyways, Black Lightning though, yeah, he deserves a cartoon. I hope they definitely divorce him, like, because I think he is divorced in the comics too from his wife Lynn. But I hope they, yeah, he's divorced from his wife Lynn, and you have his kids like Thunder and Lightning in there. Hell, Black Lightning was also a pretty cool character on Young Justice too. So I mean, like, yeah, people liked him. So I'm just saying, like, yeah, you can use Black Lightning. Then next up, I have Captain Marvel, Shazam, Billy Batson and stuff. Like, come on. Like, that wouldn't be a cool idea for a show about a child superhero and stuff. And then last on my list I have Dr. Fate. Now I think Dr. Fate also deserves a show too, or honestly they could have done this too again with the Batman Cape Crusader thing, because it was already set in the Golden Age or whatever, and Dr. Fate is a Golden Age character, so they definitely could have utilized him. And not to mention some of their best episodes on Cape Crusader was some of the supernatural stuff, like a Nocturnal episode or the episode with Gentleman Ghost. I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, but you could have done that with Dr. Fate though, Not to mention Dr. Fate had some pretty cool episodes back on Superman the Animated Series, and honestly, he was probably the best written character on I almost said Shazam, on Black Adam and stuff. Like, people like Dr. Fate. So I'm just saying, like, a Dr. Fate show would have been lit and stuff, and then send the Golden Age, like, come on. Anyways, those are my top 10 ideas for DC characters that or 10 DC characters that probably deserve a show. Tell me down below what you guys think. What are your thoughts on Batman Cape Crusader? And what are your top 10 characters you think deserves, like, from DC, of course, that deserves a show, but, doesn't have one yet, or whatever, doesn't have, like, a cartoon. All right, this is the Joning Level Fox, and I'm out. Peace, and until we meet again.